Hi, I'm Kenneth, and this is Common Hawthorne. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I'm recording a second video in the same day after a bit of an absence. Strike while the iron is hot. I am totally stealing an idea from Julie at Peekaboo Rose. I'm going to try doing short, hopefully, just rambles that don't necessarily fit specific tarot topics, and I'm going to give them star dates. So several things on my mind today. First is a question or a request. I'm really curious about how other people film your tarot tube videos. I'm especially curious about top-down filming and what kind of infrastructure you have and how you do that. Um, some general comments on conversations that have been going around TarotTube about capitalism and spending and why are we making videos or why are we watching them. I forgot to turn down my computer screen to get that reflection out of my glasses. There are a number of, I would say, sometimes emotionally charged videos and conversations going on, and none of them mention the things to me that I think are really driving the conversations, and that is that we have been in a pandemic for a long time now, that it doesn't look like there's no easy end in sight. Even places with very high vaccination and very low rates of disease, COVID-19, it's like in the context of the world, we're like nowhere even close to the end of this. So this is our new normal for a long time, and that's really stressful. And we're all tired, we're all traumatized, we're all confused, and it affects all those things. If we're in the US, well, we also have several years of fraught political conversation and conversations and the experience of people of color being killed by police, and really deep considerations of how we have to change in order to be an equitable and fair, truly fair community, how we can live up to the promise of our good intentions, how can we live up to the promise of our mythologies. And there's the environmental catastrophe that is coming more and more to the fore. So there are some TarotTube videos I've watched recently where I've just thought, there's a context that's not being spoken. And I just say that because I think that we need to give ourselves some slack, and we need to be gentle with ourselves and kind to one another at the same time that we're stepping up to the challenges that are in front of us, and that it just helps to bear that context in mind when we listen to any conversation that's emotionally charged or where there's conflict. So some things I've been reading. I this summer read An Older Man by Wayne Hoffman, and it is a novel about a gay man who comes to Provincetown and has sex, and has for many years, and has changed from being the young hot guy, to being the older gentleman, and what that means in terms of the protagonist's sense of identity. I don't think I was ever the cute, hot young twink, but there's certain things about aging that it definitely struck a chord with. I've recently reread The Eyre Affair, as in Jane Eyre, by Jasper Fforde. Um, I think he wrote eventually 9 novels set in the Thursday Next universe. And I stopped reading them somewhere along the line when they first came out. But I was in a book group and we read The Eyre Affair, and so I've kind of started going through the other ones. And I think the favorite fiction that I've read recently is The Witness for the Dead by Catherine Addison, which is a pen name of Sarah Monette. And it takes kind of a side character from her novel The Goblin Emperor, and is about that character. It's a very interesting world where there are elves and goblins, and there's various forms of magical and spiritual techniques that operate in the world. So I think that it was an interesting book. I liked it, and I didn't care for the character much in The Goblin Emperor, but I really like him in The Witness for the Dead. And there are also a number of places in it where I'm thinking, like, are these two men flirting? And it never becomes clear whether they are, but I'm glad that it can be read that way. I'm in the midst of reading The Anglo Saxons, A History of the Beginnings of England 400 to 1066. And that's kind of interesting. Um, so many people and like the characters, the historic personages, there are so many of them, and many of their names are very hard to track because they're Anglo-Saxon. Very few women who show up in the recorded history, and in fact, for big chunks of that time, there's not much in the way of recorded history. So it's been an interesting book. I've also recently finished reading Tarot Interactions, which I read with other people, which by and large I like. There are certain approaches she takes that I'm not going to take. She really, really insists on using reversals, and it's like I'm not going to use reversals right now. And so some of her techniques that kind of build on, you have to be using reversals for them to make sense. It's like, eh. And I'm just starting to work that. So I did that book with a couple of friends, and we're just starting to work through Tom Benjamin's Tarot on Earth, which is kind of an approach to using Marseille or Pip decks. And so that's interesting. And on my to be read is Journaling the Tarot Evolutions, which isn't really a book you read. But anyway, Andy Matzner, I have several of his previous books, and then I just bought this one because like all of a sudden he was showing up on everybody's channel. So I thought, okay. Oh, and a book I've pre-ordered, Perhaps the Stars by Ada Palmer, which is the 4th book of a series called Terra Ignota. Really strange, very, very strange speculative fiction. Like political and philosophical and religious concepts that are very challenging, and lots of characters. It's a worldwide scope. It's on Earth, but it's not our Earth. And so I'm interested in seeing how it ends. The protagonist is like a psychotic mass murderer, I think, kind of. We'll see. Some tarot related things. I've just done this morning my first ever live reading for another person, and I I just decided to cast caution to the winds and pay attention to my uh, intuition about what deck to use. And so I used the Oculi Occultati deck. It is, so there's the Hermit, the majors or the trumps are black and white, and there's Death, and the suits are color coded, so the pink for the swords, the Moon. You know, my experience of tarot is that trumps show up all the time. I've noticed recently I've been doing a prompt that's going through the trumps and looking for what's the card in front of it and what's the card behind it. And so that I'm every day go shuffling and then going through a deck looking at the fronts of the cards, and my trumps clump up, so that it's really common for me to do a reading and get, you know, 2 out of 5 cards would be trumps or something like that. So, and I think that I should probably stop because I do not want this to be kind of a long thing. I like watching short videos, and so I'll try. It's like, ooh, we're already at over 11 minutes. If I keep doing this, I'll probably try to keep them under 10. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please come back, like, subscribe, you know the drill, and have a good day. Bye.